This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. And I guess this is kind of one of those rant cast things, but it's not really a rant. I do those a lot, you see. Um, I guess an update sort of thing. Sure. I was currently making a Transformers Archive backup over at the Fractured Feet of Clay Transformers Archive. We took over the Fractured Feet of Clay stuff that we had, took down videos that no one was watching on there of little bobblehead guys. Nobody was watching it. That's why I took them down. Put Transformers ones in their place. We probably won't do that with any of the other stuff from the reviews channel. Possibly with the exception of the unofficial creature feature stuff, which is unofficial, but we're probably not doing that one just because there are enough of those to warrant putting them on another channel as an archive and saving a review of a review or a review of something. Probably not. The various reviews and stuff and movies. So yes, it's a kind of a Q&A thing. It isn't really a Q&A because I don't have a list of questions to answer. I was also going over some of the stuff we've done with the Transformers. Usually we alternate between Star Trek miniseries and a Transformer miniseries. Last year we did the Robotech one. Robotech meets Transformers, sort of a remake of the Sentinels, and then we did the Star Trek one, Starship Destinations, and the Destinies finale movie, and then Blessings Deferred, which was sort of a motion comic more than an episode thing. It was a motion comic. It was just they put a bunch of guys in front of camera, but mainly we had a voiceover reading of a story, so it really wasn't technically another video project. It was a motion comic because they didn't move hardly at all. So when I was looking over some of the other ones and seeing like, well, what have we done and stuff, and I was like, well, we could do a Carta one, but we kind of did that. Alt Transformers Mush was basically an excuse to reinvent the Carta vicariously through fan stories that had been written decades ago in the 90s. And we included some of the Carta in Corrosion of War Without End, but then later revealed in later seasons that they were sort of Carta, but they were actually GoBots. Some of them turned out to be GoBots. That were it's kind of a cop-out, but yeah. But yes. The idea of it would be expensive, and we can't do that. Getting rebuilding a bunch of the actual wooden Carta and having them show up as robots trying to be metal would be really strange, and not necessary. We have tons of Transformers in boxes. We can use them as the Carta. We don't need to buy any more Carta. We can just, these guys will be the Carta. They're the Carta. So we got this guy from Rise of the Beasts. He's a smash changer, and he doesn't smash. Smash changer Scourge. This is the Masochistic Prime, the movie. It appears that the Rise of the Beasts is cribbing from Transtech and a lot, and from the Mush from season 1. And a little bit from seasons 2 and 3 in that movie, without knowing it. Of course, they probably read the same lexicon archive that we did for the later ones. Anyway, we've done a lot of the other stuff already. We'd have to come up with something brand new. there was also the collected emails and letters of from mom on the internet, but we can't really use those. Those are too current. That would be weird. You could make a story in the vein of her writing style, as a Transformers or a Star Trek, possibly that last Roundup story you never got around to, as a Star Trek story. But really, that would kind of be weird, considering her writing style is similar to mine, but slightly different, slightly off. I've never addressed in a Rantcast blog whether what the other characters think of the stories. It appears my sister doesn't like them at all, but not because of the content, just because to her they're dumb. One of my sisters said they're dumb. Although, her stuff is not necessarily smart either. But no, it's a technique. YouTube is a technique, and YouTube channels and blogs where you don't have content going on in the background to keep your attention. It's a rantcast. It's a blog. It's a rantcast. That is a form of YouTube. It's a cheap way to do it, but when you don't have content you'd have to buy from other people and put it in the background, you're stuck with that rantcast. If you don't have toys to put up on the screen and show like an adventure, that's what you're stuck with. We could certainly rebuild sets on the cheap and do more stuff. They'd have to be on the cheap though. Yeah, and so the other sister's more creative, so she wouldn't mind. Doesn't do YouTube at all, or Facebook. But the original Sap One Productions character doesn't like the idea of being famous on YouTube, which is ironic. The one that has Instagram and Facebook. That would be irony. Unlike the scene from the Alanis Morissette song, "The Fly in Your Soup" is not ironic. That's just gross. That's not ironic. It would be, irony is different. Irony is having somebody that wanted to be historically famous by wanting to appear on Deal or No Deal, making a bunch of wacky videos, and then taking them all down and ordering the rest taken down. That would be irony. And then having the person that was part of those videos, Sap One Productions, going on to have a successful channel with thousands of videos. Yeah, that's irony. That's irony. So with rantcasts and an occasional fan film series. We will see. We're now in 2024. What happens with that? And what? Oh, it's a silly video game. I was going to send some fan film things on here. That guy that did the Spectre films recut them. Those long Star Trek Spectre films, recut them as a 4-part movie series. They're the same, so don't bother reviewing those. They just recut them and made them less incoherent and weird. But yes, and then there's the Melt stories. There was another guy did the Star Trek Uncharted. He also never pitched for Star Trek. Next Thursday, Mark's Cards goes to Disneyland with some of his family, and we'll see about the next year. Perhaps we'll go to Disneyland for the 10th anniversary of Kal Kat and Mark's Cards going to Disneyland. It's got to happen next year. If it doesn't happen this year, it's got to happen next year. But it can happen this year. We'll see. I don't know of any other conventions happening recently. Things like that. Our last toy show convention was, I believe, October 7th or something. Then we really didn't go back to any other ones after that. They didn't have an Adam Savage convention. They didn't explain until just recently why. Adam Savage feel that he was renovating his office, and it took him like 2 months, and he wasn't available to be at the conventions in the late in the summer. He released the video. Apparently, it took this long. So, saying that, that's what he was doing, getting his friends to renovate his office. yeah, I don't know him. I'm just revealing what he was up to. So we have yeah. Yeah, you could do another who was animated a show, and he became fixated in the review. Famous Spark did on a line from it relating to tracers in animation, and it's a direct quote riff from Chasing Amy. And as the Silly Kelly channel here, I noted that. I went to his site and said that. That's from Chasing Amy by Kevin Smith. That is a line from Chasing Amy. And then I also posted right after that, I said, the irony is, and I'm using irony again, is that as a 3D animated film, animation, there's no tracing involved. That's comic books only. Tracer. The tracer is the guy that goes by later and traces in the ink. The inker, painter, and tracer. The tracer traces over the ink. It's already been drawn by the other guy and makes it darker. Yeah. So tracer is important as well. And the joke in the Kevin Smith movie was that Affleck's character and Brian O'Halloran's character didn't appreciate the notion of him being a tracer. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense that that would be a thing with the tracer. But yeah, I've kind of wanted to finish making the Transformer Archive thing, which could take at least a couple of more days, before thinking about something new and exciting and different. And I wouldn't do what I did with the Blessings Deferred thing and Grandma's novel from everybody in that is dead, basically. So I wouldn't bother with doing my mother's stuff where generations later she's still around and there's still the people in it are still around, and it would be weird to do and it would be problematic to do anything with that. Of course, you can't just publish your like autobiography stuff as on location or something. I already did it on location with my own stuff. That's fine. But you had to change all the names. But yeah, the idea of doing something of that writing style could be interesting. I'm not sure what that would be. But the writing style, the sort of mystery of the book. She was into mysteries and novels and things. A little different than this one. But she did like the Transformers Mush episodes that dealt with mystery. There was one in particular where she didn't see the whole thing, but just the premise of some of the episodes. There was one where there was an ailing Transformer who was dying. They had to figure out why. That's a good hook. The one that she especially liked was the one where there was the Autobot robots find a dead Decepticon in front of their house, and they're like building their base. And they're like, "What is that?" That's a good hook, because yeah, that's a good hook for a story. It's like, how did it get there? Why would the Decepticon be there? And they had to figure that out in the story. So that was all about the hook. And then you got to tell the story. It isn't just about a hook. Which was kind of the problem with the animation that Saberspark was reviewing of someone's animated show story idea. I wouldn't have reviewed it actually, because it's clearly a fanfic, and like the Spectre thing, would he review that? Probably shouldn't. Just because, yeah, if it's one or two guys messing around with their computer and they've got Mac Paint and they've got 3D animator of some kind, it's just some guy's fan art. Yeah. And he addressed that. He said it in the review, well, I don't want to punch down and say, like, okay, this guy's a second, whatever. I'll just say that it kind of doesn't make sense. That's kind of what I said with the Spectre stuff earlier. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you have, yeah, if you just put out a material that's like substandard, but it's just a guy, is it still substandard? When you go back and look at Corrosion of War Without End, which I just did, I watched about half of it. I mainly watched the last 2 episodes of it, of the thing we did like 4 years ago now. Yeah, it's really good. Partly because of the clips that we took from other space battles footage. But yes, part of it is good, and that the dialogue is good too. It was Those early scripts were taken from that Old Transformers Mush 1998 archive and the 2003 that we found them. 2003 discovery of them. And then the 2015 lexicons were taken from the 2015 archive. The original stuff is, of course, the Star Trek Destination stuff, which is all original stuff that we based on. Last season we based those on Star Trek episode, Going to a Planet's Star Trek episodes, classic episodes had gone to. So that is a little derivative of those episodes. And there was that one season we did Planet of the Fallen Ones. Although really looking back on that one in 2022, 2 years ago, we probably should have made that a separate thing and had it just be a Rantcast blog motion comic, which it kind of is, of these explorers, space explorers, finding out about Jason Colavito's website. It's probably what it should have been. It should have been more true to the website than the Star Trek book that it was loosely based on, because it did. But we did it, so it exists. It's a thing. It exists. Can't go back. It's come out. It's lightning out of the bottle. It's a Pandora's box. Oh yeah, there was a politician using Pandora's box wrong. Saying, "Oh, it's coming out of Pandora's box." I think it was Trump or one of his people, and it's like, okay, Pandora's box is used as a concept in literary fiction, at least. Is it MacGuffin? And it's a device, the MacGuffin device. It's the glowy briefcase in Pulp Fiction. It's in that sense that's Marcellus's soul in Pulp Fiction. That's what's going on now. He stole that from a movie, incidentally. Tarantino got that from another movie. But yes, he also stole Reservoir Dogs from an entirely other movie. City of Fire. Interestingly enough, City on Fire. Now here's an iceberg. City on Fire, which is the movie that Tarantino stole from, goes back to referenced as Ciudad de Fuego, the City on Fire, in Transmush, and then Transformers Mush, the Carta and the Transformers and the Renegades go there. They fight. There's a Robotech ship there that leads to Robotech the Sentinels down the road. Also, it leads to City on Fire. Also, it leads back to the other thing. And it leads back to them taking the premise for Quentin Tarantino's Mob Planet idea episode, making it into a Star Trek Destinations, and releasing it last year. Wow, how's that for a non sequitur? But yes, so they make fun of that there too. And they also make fun of the infamous scene involving the Royale with cheese, in which the two mobsters are clearly just BSing out of their mouth. They're just making stuff up, like left and right, because that ain't true. Because even in 1994, you could have looked it up. You could have called somebody and said, like, Mr. Tarantino could have called up England or something, or called up France, the French McDonald's and the English McDonald's, and asked them if they have a Royale with cheese or not. And they would have said, no, we don't do that. We'd call it a quarter pounder there. But he didn't know that, so he ran with it. Now with the internet, you can totally go to the website in England, in London, England, and you can go to the website in, the websites in France, and see that in Europe, indeed, they do call it a quarter pounder with cheese. They don't change the name. It's a McDonald's, and it's McDonald's over there. What they do have in foreign countries is different kinds of things. Like in India, you get special, like, rice dishes and stuff. In Japan, you can have, like, sushi and stuff with it. Just to add something different to the menu. In France, they have more chips and stuff. In England, too. Stuff like that. But yeah, instead of fries, you get chips. You get chips. They look more like corn chips than fries. It's like back in the day when they're like, freedom fries. We're going to call them freedom fries instead of French fries because France, dur. But apparently they were wrong about that too, because the French fry, as we know it, the American French fry, the steak fry today, and the French fry. The French fry is the skinny one, the steak fry is the long one. The lady fry and the man fry, the French fry and the steak fry, comes from Paris, Texas. It's from America. It's an American invention. The fortune cookie is also an American invention. San Diego, California, and a little bit of chop suey, egg foo young, chow mein, San Francisco and San Diego. It's not even over there. You go over there, they'll look at you funny and try to order chow mein over there. They go, what? What's that? Well, they probably will know what it is because of the internet. But Although, interestingly enough, the spaghetti noodle was invented in China, but brought to Italy. So, yes. But it's a different kind of noodle there. It's rice noodle. So they do have something like it, but it's usually dried. So that weird dried pasta stuff that they have over there in China, that's actually what you would get. They'd send you dried noodles, dried rice noodles, and you'd be like, what? Oh, that's what we call it over. But anyways, yeah. So we've done a lot of these Transformer things, mainly from all Transformers Russian lexicons. So I don't see any reason to revisit those. Also, the Robotech meets the Transformers the Sentinel story, the 3-part one. Now that Armored Argama of Robotech has died, the last Robotech guy holding out died, and all permissions were let loose, and now you can go on YouTube at any time and watch Robotech or Macross 7 or any of the other. I think you can watch Macross 7 on YouTube. I think you can now. You can watch Macross Plus, Macross Delta, all of those online, anywhere, because they released all the copyrights. So our fan film is fine. It was never in any danger. Because it's not, there's no ad revenue at all. So no AdSense. It's funny that guy cribbed from Chasing Amy. But Kevin Smith was not copying some other Chasing Amy story from On Location. He couldn't have read that. It's not possible. It's a coincidence. But yes, it's a coincidence. Absolutely. So yeah. So let's see what else. There's been no Adomicon recently. There's a holding pattern for a move that could happen. I don't know. But for now, here, and why not? Make more content. That will no doubt annoy the relatives. No, it won't, because we're not going to release the stuff that annoys them. Yeah, I mean, we're not putting out the I'm not going to do novelizations and storybooks of Mom the novel. No one's going to want to watch that. It's mainly medical stuff. Nobody's going to want to watch that. No one's going to want to watch a video version of that. Yeah, but she didn't tell mystery short stories. She wasn't a novelist. Another constructive criticism of the blog site was that whether I would know the character development or not, which was dissuaded, which was changed as a result of the releases of the Brown Productions things and all that in there, the Starship Chimera movie and the other stuff which aired here, and my mother saw several of those episodes, and so one of the Transformer one she liked over and over again. Somebody kept watching the Transformer one over and over again. It was probably her. The one about Springer and his dying girlfriend or something. She liked that one. Probably just the visuals, I would imagine. That was the lexicons. But yeah, and the Transformer thing. And you understand the dialogue because you're recreating dialogue. You do get it. Yeah, I said, I cribbed some of it from other dialogue from 20 years ago. She thought I was going to get in trouble for cribbing it from dialogue from 20 years ago. No, I put bylines in, said. And half the time, most of the time actually, the Nush people, and especially lexicons, would put up pseudonym names. So it's a pseudonym name. I don't know what Chromia 311 is, or whoever else, Some of them were the same person. In fact, there's a Muth and a Jung. It's the same guy. They don't PM anymore, so I cannot confirm nor deny it. But he did say that there was a commentary. One of them commented, said, Jung and Muth that's I'm the same dude. Like you're Kal Kat and the other guy, same guy. It's like, oh, okay. It's not the same guy. It's not Muth. It's Muth commented that he was the same guy as the other guy. Changed the name to Jung to sound more different. That other guy. So, Rob Powers is of no relation to, of course, the Beast Wars people. It's just somebody else that has a similar name to the other Rob. Yeah. Also, the guy from the Transformer Siege is actually the real guy. I didn't know that. I thought maybe it was another fan trying to troll him or something. To troll Primal Prime there. But yeah, just to clarify the Transtech idea, there's a company called Transtech, which is of no relation. Clarify that. Kal Kat is also of no relation to the Kal Kat nightclub. Didn't know about that. And Transtech is Transformers meet Robotech. It's an acronym. It's a combined word. Transformers meet Robotech in our case. And it was not directly a spin-off of Transtech, which would have been Beast Machine's year 2. So they're going to go Transtech and reintroduce cars and ships and trains and everything. Ours was an attempt to imitate that. That was going to come out and never did. And ours was considerably different than what they were going to do. So we used the G1 guys and the Beast Wars guys. Also, the archive does not need to include the Mousetrap Project Beasties thing, because even though it has Transformers in it, it's kind of its own thing. I don't want to use the rabbit hole that's the Mousetrap stuff. Maybe you can post that on the other channel, creature feature thing. You can post that over there, maybe. But yeah, that doesn't really. Just because it's a Transformers crossover doesn't mean it. It's a working Transformers crossover. Don't put it over there. Also the the other ones later on, the Sentinels stories, the Endless Circle is End of the Circle by Jack McKinney, and I adapted it as a 90-minute movie. I changed considerably the elements of it, and also made fun of so the Space Bridge saga is the Tommy Yoon Shadow Children Shadow's Return that he never produced. I didn't know what his scripts were going to be about, so I just took the premises and ran with them. They're not his scripts; they're my own. So in those cases, that's not his scripts. They're different. And the Robotech meets the Transformers from last year is taken from Alt Transformers Mush Transformers episodes that have been rejiggered to include Robotech people. When originally they did not. They were just straight up stories. Also, there was a question as to what in the T.L. Aaron's versions of that series that he wrote, that you included 4 episodes of, what included in that was actually the violent stuff that they cut out. Well, obviously we couldn't put that in YouTube, so yeah. But there was some really messed up stuff in there. They alluded to it, but they didn't. There was violations, and I was doing horrible things to people, and the tentacle thing, and there was a bunch of other weird stuff in there. He was clearly really mad at somebody, and he was like going off on them. It was like, and we just didn't want to include that stuff. Some of that's in there in the form of some of the bad guys threatening folks and doing naughty things, but they don't actually go there. It's very PG-13. It's not. That's robots and G.I. Joe figures. There's no, decapitations and limb severing and stuff like that. It's all extremely simulated. Even the part where he gets shot in the head, the bad guy. Even that, they kind of didn't show it. The Miria shoots him with a gun in the story. It was somebody else in the story, and the bad guy, and she blew his head off, basically. Basically the top of his head and his shoulders. Oh! So yeah, but yeah, we couldn't animate that, of course. Bad guy. Also, it was somebody else. It was she was originally in the original T.L. Aaron stories. They were Daniel Witwicky and his wife Jennifer and their child, and her brother. Originally, that's what the story was, and it's a different Jennifer, a different timeline, and they were mixing them up with the McLeods, so we didn't want to do that either, because it's kind of like the other people in the other story. So I made it Robotech instead. That's why it appears there aren't that many of the Robotech scenes in there. It's mostly the Transformers. So which is interesting because it's Robotech meets the Transformers. So we give the Spike and Daniel and the other humans and the human army people Robotech names and put the Robotech people in there that way. We did it that way. There are very few bridge scenes in Robotech meets the Transformers. because of a crumbling set that eventually fell apart. All of those sets from that original run, when we got to the end of Destinations, were thrown out, and we don't have them anymore. They were literally disintegrating. The bridge sets were more well built. At least the floors were. They were built out of balsa wood. Then balsa wood is tricky, and that had to be torn up. But if the walls are falling down, it kind of can't do anything with it. Really, actually, 6 months ago, we thought we were going to not be here anymore. Going to go somewhere else, and the channels would have ended. But that isn't what's happening. It's a holding pattern. So we're going to stay here and do stuff just so we don't make a mess. So Queen Bee Studios still exists, but KTS Studios is effectively bankrupt and gone. Bankrupt and gone. Yes. So, yeah. What's this? We should remake those. No. But yes, yeah, there's not much else to complain about other internet stuff on there. I was mainly saying, yeah. If it's an actual animation studio that actually has people in it, unlike the Spectre guy, if it's an actual studio, you can review it as a studio film and project and independent film or whatever. But if you have a review of a story where it's clearly some fan that spent years making their little Transformers vid thing, I haven't even reviewed other people's Transformers vids for that reason. Because I figured it's one guy. You know, the sets are like clunky boxes behind them, but it's a really cool stop motion. I haven't bothered reviewing those because, yeah, it's cool, but it's some guy worked on this for like a year to make a stop motion, like, you know, Adventures of whatever, Prowl or something, or Adventures of Bumblebee or whatever. And it's like, and it's like 10 minutes long. It's like, I'm not going to knock that because it took them a lot of time to do it. And yeah, they didn't have the sets, but it's probably some kid 3D with a camera. So yeah, yes, it's fine. And there were some cool ones. There was one stop motion one that was like they introducing Road Rage as some of the other Autobots on their ship, and they actually built some sets out of Lego sets and other Creo sets and stuff. And he had they used other stuff too, other stuff to make it look like a Transformer set. That was kind of fun. Yeah, and then there's somebody that decided to do a very ambitious. I think he's using 3D Blender or something. He's doing an ambitious Galvatron's Revenge, I think is the name of it. Transformers Prime, Galvatron's Revenge. Yeah, so there's a guy that did something. He's still working on it, but it kind of looks like Transformers Prime. Done with animation that looks like Beast Wars in the 90s. Because now that 3D animation is so improved that it doesn't look like Transformers Prime, because it wouldn't. It looks like Beast Wars and Reboot from the 90s. Which is fine, you know. The reason we did it our way with the action figures is it's way easier to film an action figure. Just right away. You can just have the action figure and do a voice, and the action figure moves and do a voice. We didn't do stop motion. Some people have said, you should do stop motion. You know how long that would take? No, I'm doing stop motion. I'm not going to do that. It's called Go Motion. It's motion comics, yeah. Yes, and we're not associated with the long bankrupt Post Group, although there were some elements of people that knew from that years ago. Yeah. As well as some ex-Pixar people that used to live across the street. I've said that story before. There was a Pixar Halloween party that we crashed in the 90s. And yeah, I mentioned that story before. And they had like a... And the one friend that wanted to crash all the Halloween parties, finally we were going to crash a Halloween party, he didn't want to do it. Basically. So we went in there and there was a drunk werewolf and there was some other stuff. And there was like early animatic drawings and things on the walls. It's Pixar people. And yeah, for A Bug's Life, which was awesome. So, came later. So there were Bug's Life drawings and things lying around. Yeah. And an animator's house and stuff all over the walls. Yeah. We weren't supposed to touch that. We didn't touch that. Yes. One of my friends drank all the beer. That's why they kicked us out. Not for drawing Enterprise on the blackboard. There was a whiteboard. There's a draw here, something, and I drew a little Enterprise and a forge visor. Oh, don't draw on the whiteboard. Ah. Oops. Wrong show anyway. We're Pixar. They said we're Disney. Well, I draw Mickey Mouse ears or something. But that would be copyright. Exactly. I can't draw until now. Apparently, if I'd drawn Steamboat Willie Mickey this year, I could do that because the copyright has expired on Steamboat Willie Mickey and Mortimer, the previous one, last year, and Tigger, the from Winnie the Pooh is now our middle character. Oh. Yes, and the actual Christopher Robin, that was his son, grew up to be kind of nuts because everybody thought that he was like that character from the books, and they humiliated him into insanity, apparently. And he wasn't the kid from the books. They just, yeah. If you're an aspiring book writer, animator dude, and you decide to include your child in the story, maybe you should don't do that, because you're going to be disappointed, Or it goes with the same way as a Mary Sue as well. You don't want to put yourself so much in your story that your story is the story. Like the Spectre guy. Like the Milk guy to an extent. A little bit. It's kind of the problem with that Elementals movie is it was clearly a love letter by Pete Docter or something. And it was like, okay, there's too much of you in here, so I can't get into this. I just can't. I don't know. But yeah, the trouble with that movie is that cartoon movie is it should have been Pixar. It was Pixar. It should have been that they had powers, not that they actually were water and fire. They should have had like powers, like Shark Boy and Lava Girl or something, which was bad too. But yeah, they should have done that. Power. They have X-Men powers, so they can turn into humanoids, but then their powers are that they can become watery or fiery. That would have been cooler. Yeah, it would have been more like X-Men kind of thing. But yeah, they didn't ask me. Their powers. So I guess what would be a Transformer story that you haven't done that you want to do? There were a lot of hints of stuff that would be and Star Trek stories out there. Oh yeah, there's some stuff shaking around, but nothing official. But we'll jump over to the Trek Culture site that referenced our stuff indirectly. I think it was Trek Culture. They were all like, I want to see an episode about Q and the Q Continuum, in a British accent. We did that in 2019. I posted in the commentary. We did. I said, there's a fan film called Starship Chimera, and they go to the Q Continuum. What about Picard and the Picard and there was a Borg one, the Star Trek Destiny. He was taking out the Destiny novels, the Borg one of the Destiny novel, which they kind of did in Star Trek Picard season 3. They kind of did that. Star Trek season 3 did that. They mentioned the bluegills. They said, why don't we get the conspiracy bluegills? Well, we did that with the first season of Starship Locations in 2021 fan film. I think he's thinking that Star Trek should do something like that, but they won't do the bluegills again. You know why they won't do the bluegills again? The bluegills premise became the Borg. The infestation, the stuff like that, and all that came from this obscure school in Milpitas or San Jose. and these kids were like playing like there was a Kurgan's invasion thing of zombie cyborgs, and they were all like, yeah, let's just borrow that idea. The invasion, the early episode of Next Generation, of our new show, Next Generation. And then later on, we'll introduce these Borg guys in the finale. And then later on, the cyborg guys that had a very similar tact to the bug creatures, the bluegills. They had a similar idea. They were going to invade by taking over people and doing stuff. Very similar. So yes, we thought of the Borg before they did. But you know that from our channel. But everybody, I think, was thinking Terminator and Aliens because it was the 80s and Terminator and Aliens. So that's what they were, everybody was thinking the same thing. So that's what it was. Terminator and Aliens. Like minds think alike. And then we come to, so that wouldn't have worked. Bluegill. But I did comment that Starship Locations did it, but did it and had the tribbles became giant-sized when the parasites entered them, and the tribbles morphed into some of them morphed into tribble bluegill hybrids. That's what we did with ours, which is silly. And they were gonna do that in season 3 of Picard. They were gonna have the bluegills involved, but they decided not to because ours was different. And they didn't want it. It's interesting that Transformers Earthspark kind of does something similar with that. And we'll get on that, but I already got on that. But also, if you think about it, the Trill that were introduced later, and I reference the Trill Renegades as well, they're basically a rewrite of them as well. The Trill and the Trill symbiotes. The Trill symbiotes could easily have been bluegills that just escaped from their bodies and like running around. So I think when they reinvented the Trill, that's what they were thinking too. So they've done the bluegills. They're called the Trill now. So there you go, Star Trek. Bad film. Okay, so the Transformers thing, yes, as Mark Scarts pointed out, Transformers technically don't have gender, and they would be gender fluid because they're robots. They don't need to have gender. They don't need to reproduce sexually. They can build other robots of themselves or do whatever, budding or constructing or whatever. So yeah, it's right in the name. Transformers. They transform. Transsexual, transgender, Transformers. Yes, so having a transgender transformer and certain right-wing groups being pissed off about it, they're idiots. They're plain and simple. No, they're already there. The RC could be a male, just change their voice box. Prime could be a female, just change his voice box. And he'd be, I am female Prime now. No, he's a robot. He doesn't need a pecker. Although, or vice versa. Or maybe she does. Because there is art of that out there. Fan art with tracers. But yeah, we didn't do any of that. No. Didn't post any of our artwork of that. But we did post artwork on the Star Trek Chimera sites of the early Starship artwork and stuff. Some of which looks like some of those ships from the early video games that apparently the Trek Yards guys have now noticed. They're like, oh, that looks similar. It does, yeah. Your ship, yeah, it kind of does. Your Titan, versions of the Titan kind of do resemble the Shangri-La. I read about that. A little bit. They said, no, that other one's more like the Excelsior, but you just beefed it up like it has muscles. Like, yeah. It is less sleek and more bulky. Yes. So, yeah. The terminal shock. Now they've introduced a ship from the old school, like early days of Star Trek Online, when the original cast was designing that one. They got that one up there, and it looks like. And my comment from the Silly Kelly site was, this ship they got up there. It's called the Maelstrom. So it's named after one of the Distant Destiny ships. So it's clearly one of my associates from way back. That ship is very familiar. And I said it was as if a Defiant ship and a Maquis raider got together and had an illegitimate child. But yes, the love child of these two characters. So yeah, the powers. Blah. Yeah, we did some of our early fan film stuff. We snuck it in there with the Shared Hallucinations, the final old Transformers mush before Lexicons. Yeah, I think that was before Lexicons. We stuck that in there, and we had like some of our early short stories that got included in there. Powers That Be, Exile the Dinobots. Some of our short stories that ended up in the Lexicons. They were there. The whole Heart of Saga was in there in short story form, so it was all in there. But you'll notice that it's shorter when we did Shared Hallucinations, because it was, even though that's a 2-part movie, Battle of the Alicom, when you see the actual story, It's like 25, 30 pages long. It's not very long. There was so little story in there. It was mainly Transformers the movie, but with a giant female robot instead of Unicron. And we did that a lot in our stuff. We did a lot. Yes, there's a giant robot they have to fight, giant kaiju thing. But Robotech did that too with a million ship fleet. And Robotech, Macross Delta had the SDFs fighting each other. Of course, Macross 2 also did that, with an SDF ship getting blasted by a giant other ship in that one. But Macross 2 is not considered canon somehow. Oh, and actually Atari Island is the island they were thinking of as the island of Macross. So that's accurate in Stranded Macross. That's the island. A lot of the weird, like, behind-the-scenes stuff of the different characters in the Solus Prime primary thing, I was looking at that and making that connection there that really wasn't there. They have since made an action figure. They made a Solus Prime action figure, which is awesome. It's a Magnus retool. That's not how I would have envisioned her, though. I would have envisioned her looking like a big red fire truck thing. Because Solus, like, on fire, solar, fire truck, space fire truck. No. So I did it right in my version. I was like, oh, she's an Inferno variant. And she's in love with Magnus, who she met after Megatronus dumped her. Megatronus dumped her. And she's supposed to be, her spark goes back to Primus, is what it is. Her spark. And since there's no gender in Starship, since it's all mixed up and fluid, and just fine with all of them. Yeah, so Primary is a descendant of Solus Prime. You could say that she's a daughter of Solus Prime, I guess, because then it would make more sense, and then it would fit in the canon. And Megatronus is as well, because technically she's the grandmother. If Solus Prime is the grandmother of all Decepticons. And there was a twist in there mentioning, okay, the Matrix, the first, which is a clever idea, the first original Matrix was meant as a quintesson device to keep, that was put in all the Decepticons and to keep them in line, like keep them connected and in line to their sparks so they wouldn't turn on the quintessons. Because they were the war machines, not the consumer goods. They were the military hardware. They were the gladiatorial hardware and all that. Gladiatorial combat stuff. They referenced that in the other show. That's so clever. Earthspark mentioning that. Because that's totally what they did on Cybertron. So this reference to the IDW stuff, but that goes back further too. That goes back to a book called Exiles, which was a book that was written during that period. Which is a novelization of something they did for the IDW. Which is also referenced in... You figured they would have gladiatorial combat, and the Decepticons would be into that. Quintessons would be pitting them against each other in the ring. And they've had a minor Megatron release and some other guys. So they've had... no official Night Racer, though. Not yet. Dominus Criminal is not official. But yeah, the idea of this Matrix thing being somehow how they're connected is a fun idea. And in line, and having Megatronus have ripped his own off, and then threw it away, and have Alpha A3 find it, and go like, well, instead of using this as a kill switch for all Transformers, I will rebuild it as a repository of knowledge instead, and I will call it the Matrix of Leadership. It's like, okay, that's really cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's it. I was like, okay, yeah. I wouldn't do a prequel like that showing that, but it's kind of implied in that one episode. And in that universe, maybe that's what happened. So it's Transformers is a multiverse. And having skimmed through some of these other ones, I'm like, this is really well done. I'm tooting my own horn saying how awesome it is. But no, it is really well done because it has all these elements that are come together in each individual story, and they go on their missions, and it all works somehow. These are good Transformer stories. They're a little long and over the top, but sure, they're good Transformer stories. And you can watch them out of order if you want. But Corrosion, you kind of have to watch in order. The first 7 episodes, watch them in order. And yeah, you might as well watch the rest too. Yeah, so the archive will make it easier to watch them because you can go just to that archive and watch them. Or you can look for them and search for them on the reviews channel, the Weird Kitty channel. But this archive channel will be easier to find. So you can go there and Okay, this is episode 20. I don't want to watch that. Whatever. This is episode 5. All right, I'll watch that. And it has already posted all the Trans and Trans 2 commentary episodes as well, the early OG one, and the long Trans Tech Metal Shot Doomsday, Dark Metal Aftermath, Dark Catharsis, the 3 3-hour movies, which were 3 seasons of a show that ran 8 episodes each back in the day, in 2014. And you can see the original episodes too. You can go on the Weird Kitty site and watch those. But this way you can watch them all at once, like all the way through. And because it's YouTube, you can totally go back and forth and just watch some here, watch some there. There's plenty of stuff to look at. So yeah, I don't know where this is going to be posted. Yes, on Weird Kitty. But yeah, there's so much lore out there for the Transformers stuff. I like how the movie, the Beast Wars movie, agreeing with the Thews Reviews guy. Thews awesome reviews. That guy would be fun to meet at a convention. Oh my goodness, that guy would be so much fun. But yeah, yeah, he should come out here to a convention. See him. I've never been to a BotCon, which is weird. I would love to go to a BotCon. I've been to the other local stuff and the toy show stuff. Ooh, I almost ran into the guy who TJ Omega at one of those ones, but almost. He was just after me. Like, darn it, missed him by that much. But yes, just there. Wow. But yeah, back in the day, But he was liking the idea of the Rise of the Beasts, kind of doing its own Beast Planet thing, the Animus thing from the comics and the books, and exploring that, but making its own continuity where there happened to be other Beast Wars like them. So it's not Optimus Primal and Cheetor and Rhinox and Airazor. It's another version of them that's been left on the planet. And I like how, like in our version, that Animus Beast Wars planet in I believe season 2, that at the end of the reunion of the Beasts, some of them go home. So it's totally possible that that's the planet they go to in the other story. Oh, that's the planet they've been to in the other story. That's right, because Transformers the Beast thing takes place in 1994 in that movie. It's a flashback to 1994 at the beginning of Alt Transformers Mush in 1994. So they're literally paying homage to Alt Transformers Mush in there, the Mush fans, which is awesome. Are they giving Rob Jung and Rob Powers credit for that movie? They probably should. Especially Jung, that guy, and Doug Muth, and especially that guy. And a little bit of Blood Crow thrown in there just for good measure. A little bit of Bowling, and a little bit of Ivy Bowling, a little bit with the bad guy. A little bit of Ratchy, a little bit of Crothers as well. all those names from the Mush that I don't know, but that back in the day gave permission for us to do a live action, and we did. But yes, the not live action, animation thing of some of the stories. However, with the lexicons, we were not able to find any of those people. There was a reappearance there of the Andraxis Lord Commander story, but we already told that one and didn't need to do it twice. So. Anyways, so that's a good one too. That's one of Starscream takes over. Who thinks he's taken over the Transformers? And it was a better story than Machines of Time Forgot, which he was cribbing from. He did a better version of it. Our version wasn't as good. And the reason that the Trans and Trans 2 stories are commentary only and some of the commentaries are too soft, well, we screwed that up. The commentaries shouldn't be too soft, but we're not re-releasing them with better commentaries, because why? Also, yeah. But the important one, you can turn up the volume. The reason they are the commentaries only for in the visual is because of music we put in the background. We really loved Jurassic Park, Batman, and Star Wars and Star Trek music, so it would play in the background. It's like, no, we can't use that. Don't do that. Don't do that in your fan film. Get real music. Get music that isn't someone else's music. It's gonna make I've said this many times doing fan films. Yeah, of course, I can actually do the music with the piano and all that. But maybe you can't. Maybe you have to get somebody or use freeware music. But yeah, don't use other people's music. It'll make you want to stop watching your fan film and watch something else. But yeah, so that's basically my rant cast, I guess, for the night. Yeah, I'm just going on about stuff, hoping that Photoshop 2013 works and I can post this somehow. As clunky. Yeah, because 2024 sucks. All the later versions of Photoshop are terrible. Their customer service is non-existent, and they don't refund your money. Yeah, so yeah, so that effectively kills that. Let's find some other. If we want good special effects in the background, I don't know how we're gonna do that. Because all we can do is import video and no effects. Yeah, that doesn't work. We have to go back to the flashy lights in the background. Oh no, could do that in camera. A lot of that, yeah. Flashlights going. Also, I was watching a lot of videos about the night. Well, the queue when you and my siblings don't seem to realize this, but some of my nephews and nieces do. That when you queue up a bunch of videos and start watching them, the YouTube algorithm knows you want to watch them and queues them more of them of the same. Which is why if you go to conspiracy sites, like my sister would, if she had a YouTube channel, it'd be all conspiracies. You would end up seeing more and more and more of that until it would be. Whereas space and I went to one symphony site yesterday for a symphony thing, the Alan Menken symphony thing, and now 30 of these channels popping up in the Silly Kelly thing. It's all like symphonies. You want to watch symphonies. I went to a site about Knight Rider, the Knight Rider car. They found two of them. Two different people found two of them. It cut back to stuff from 5 and 10 years ago and currently about Knight Rider. There's like 5 Knight Rider videos in here because I looked for that. There's even other car videos because I looked up a Jay Leno thing. There's computer videos because I looked up a computer thing. And then there's 9 different computer things. Oh, you want to know about Crazy Supercomputer? So now you got 9 other things to look at for Crazy Supercomputer. It's ridiculous. It's like half of these are BS channels, like Kyle Hill was complaining about. He was all like, you know what? There's a lot of fake science channels. Yeah, there are. There's a lot of fake science channels. I'm not going to name them, but there are totally. There are real ones, like, Dr. Becky's real, and SciShow's real, and, stuff like that. Simon Whistler's he pops up a lot. He's sort of your skeptical British guy. Yes, because, yes, a very animated British guy. They're not all stuffy like one of Martha's exes. They're not all like Egan, they're all stuffy. But no, this guy's very animated, not all stuffy. So. Anyway, yeah, then of course went to a couple of political sites. Popping up is now everything from Stephen Colbert to the Seth Meyers show to don't you want to see the local news about primaries and stuff? It's like, my goodness, no. A lot of Transformer stuff, of course. Oddly enough, not some of mine. And I went to some Dukes of Hazzard sites and popping up the random Roscoe Remembered site. Well, they missed an opportunity with, Cowpoke and all that. When they did that 2009 Dukes of Hazzard movie, I would have been more than happy to play Roscoe P. Coltrane in that movie. That would have been awesome. Roscoe P. Coltrane. I could have done it. They would have been. You could do it. Just like James Best done it. And he was in an old Creature Feature horror movie when he was a youngin'. It's pretty weird. But yeah, there's the School of Rock guy, Professor of Rock guy too. He's cool. What's interesting is like the Top Gun movie came out like, okay, Robotech came out in 1983 as Macross and all those back in Japan. Came out here in 85. Top Gun came out in 86. So technically all the Tomcats in the Top Gun movie are looking like the Robotechs. That's because they were cribbing it from Robotech. It's the other way around. Rick Hunter was not the inspiration for inspired. They weren't thinking Tom Cruise when they did Rick Hunter. They couldn't have been. I mean, maybe, but no, they couldn't have been thinking Tom Cruise and Top Gun. Tom Cruise from Top Gun was thinking, I want to be Rick Hunter. It's the other way around. Maybe the two were in production at the same time, but no, probably not likely. They're not in the same universe. But the fact that they're Tomcats, and he looks a little like him from the first movie, that's why they made Tom Cruise up to look like Rick Hunter. So, yeah, a little bit of trivia for you there. Because that series was 3 years earlier. It didn't take, in the 80s, it didn't take long to make a movie. It probably took a year to make Top Gun. Robotech was already on the air. Probably started production in like late 84, early 85 when Robotech came here. So yeah, they were totally thinking. And the girl and everything, and the trio and Gooseman and all that. Top Gun is ripping off Robotech. There's your mind blown. Yep, Top Gun is ripping off Robotech. That guy's Roy Fokker. The other guy, Gooseman. It's really obvious. But yes, not directly though. I think they were inspired by. It's sort of like how one of the composer guys was saying, John Williams was inspired by the planets to write Star Wars, because really the planets is a little different. It's not the same. It's close, but it's not the same. It's not like taking the tune bum ba da bum ba da bum bum from another song and putting it in Ice Ice Baby. That's ripping it off. But no, it's more like okay, you have the song from Mars, the planets, where it's all dun 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 dun, and then they go, oh dun 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 dun. It's a little different. It's clearly inspired, but it's different. But Mars, yes, as well as the apparently the theme song from Harry Potter is from the Neptune suite from that. Harry Potter. It's the same theme song. Well, that's even closer. Yes, Mr. Williams. And the one from what was it? There was another. There, the Neptune Uranus. The Uranus one sounds like the theme song from the other planet. Yeah. Psst. Yeah, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, he took that from there too, and a little bit of E.T. in the cantina scene. Star Wars is definitely from the planets. It's inspired. Turn, turn, turn. Anyway, so yes. So you can make a song that's as a song suite for your fan film that's inspired by the Star Trek songs without actually doing the Star Trek songs. The Chimera theme, using bits from the other ones. So, anyway, so that is my rantcast. I didn't even say what day it was. It's January 20th, 2024.